So, good afternoon everybody, my name is Peter Draper. I am the European Solutions Engineering Manager for Swimlane. We are a security automation provider. And hopefully today we're going to talk a little bit about security automation, but we're not just going to dive into what our product is and what it does. We're going to talk a little bit about history and some of the challenges that people have. And then hopefully we're going to give you a few nuggets at the end of today to be able to look at how do you get on to or move on with your automation journey, because automation is a journey. So let's jump on. I thought I'd take a bit of a photo of the travel home for me tonight when I'm trying to get back up to Scotland in the snow. No, this is the threat landscape. Obviously, we all know that the threat landscape is constantly changing, whether that be threat actors, whether that be the tools that you have in place, whether that be your users. So we know that there's a whole bunch of challenges that are coming down the line. And the other challenge that we've got is our digital footprint. We're always changing our digital footprint. And as you do make changes to that digital footprint, you're increasing your risk. Now, we've heard a lot today from lots of different people. I've been sat in quite a few of these sessions so that I can make sure that I'm up to speed with everything that everybody else is saying. But risk and risk reduction and risk management and understanding risk and being able to quantify risk is very important, because it's a big, big challenge for everybody. And if we walk away from the technology pieces and talk about the businesses are interested in how can I make money, how can I save money, or how can I reduce my risk? Those are the three main things that any business wants to know. There's a ton more, but those are the three main ones. The challenge that we've got in our world, this is what the vendor marketplace looks like for security. There are thousands and thousands of different tools and different capabilities. And we also heard in one of the earlier presentations, or two of them actually, one of them, the American football one, with the incredibly tall, incredibly big 17-year-old that I saw earlier, about not investing all of your budget into one tool. Don't focus it in one place. You need to be looking at something that can actually cover many areas. Now, the challenge that we've got is, and I want to sort of set a thought in your head about what is good enough in cybersecurity. And the challenge is, do we go for good enough security with one vendor and a suite of products, or do we go for best of breed and then try and figure out how we make them all work together? So good enough is something that every person and every organization has to look at and determine where that fits for them. Excuse me. The thing that you need to think about when you're buying these tools, sorry, I'm having a bit of a choke here. When you've spent the money on it, did you get the return on it? Did you actually get the use out of it? Were people able to use it? And that is a big, big challenge. And I want to make sure that we're focused on how we do the best with the tools that we have right now, rather than having to go and invest in lots more tools as well. And that's one of the areas that security automation really comes into its own and starts to play. I was going to do a bit of, I didn't get the word right, buzzword bingo today, but seeing as we have Sarah keeping a close eye on time today, that's not going to happen. But I will be asking a couple of questions. So many organizations have started and have been for many years, and some still don't have them but are starting to work down that route, are building security operations centers, so SOCs. Who in here works physically frontline in a SOC? Stick your hand up, please. There's not very many people. Who owns the responsibility of a SOC? A few more. Who would like to work in a SOC? Everybody will put your hands down. So here are some of my customers. I was celebrating with John last week. He's only 22, but he's a frontline engineer in a SOC. It's a tough place to be. It's a very tough place to be. And there's a big challenge that everybody's aware of, the talent shortage. We talk about the talent shortage in terms of there are not enough people with the right skills. How do I get them? It's not just that shortage, it's the risk that injects into your business. The fact that you're having to run your teams very hard, sometimes not covering all the alerts, in most cases not covering all the alerts, and not being able to deal with all of the problems in-house. This is where MSSPs come into the game to help you to do that, third parties. But the interesting piece for me, and this actually comes from some research that we've done this year, or should I say last year, because we're now in 24, there's a complete mismatch between what the executives in an organization think is happening from an alert perspective and what the front-end people think, or should I say no, because they're the ones actually doing it. So just look at those numbers. The executives believe, 70% of them believe that alerts are being handled. 36% of frontline believe that they're being handled. That's a massive difference. And that's a lot of risk into the business. There was talk earlier on about metrics and KPIs. Understand your metrics, gather information about them. That's really, really important. And the challenge that you have, going back to that big list of vendors, is how do you get metrics from all of those different systems and boil them down into how well am I doing? Looking at some of the terms, MTTR, MTTD, what do they mean? Mean time to response, mean time to detect. There's a whole bunch of different metrics that people are looking at. From a business perspective, somebody was talking earlier on today about having a high-level view that the board could look at to see how our trends are doing. Are we improving? Are we getting worse? Are we making good use of the investments that we've put in place? And do we actually get an improvement in reduction in risk, saving money, those sorts of things? So there's some really important things to go with, and we think from a security automation perspective, that you need to have. I'm going to talk a little bit about history now. So who in here has deployed or knows about SOAR? Security Automation, Orchestration, and Response. Okay, small number of hands, that's good. We need to have more. You all know what it means now. You all know that it exists. The challenge we have, though, is it's been around for a while. We've been around in this business for a while, so we've been around since 2014. From an automation perspective, that's quite early. But the SOAR element is deep in that trough. So the trough of disillusionment. And there's been lots of challenges where people have tried to do automation from a security perspective. It's the nirvana that we want to get to, is get rid of those mundane, those repetitive tasks that you could do quickly, that you could do easily. Get rid of them and have them done automatically to free up your people to do more of the more advanced elements. One, that helps you as an organization, but two, it helps those staff as well. It makes their life better, makes them want to stay and do things rather than getting burnt out. But the problem with a lot of the deployments of legacy SOAR have been, there's been performance issues. There's been a mismatch between what's been expected and actually what's been delivered. There's slow adoption. There's lots of different elements that come into this. For those that have deployed SOAR, there was only a handful, but who would classify your deployment as 100% successful? Anybody? 50%? 50%, okay. Anybody less than 50%? Yeah, okay. You need to come talk to me. So it is a big challenge from a SOAR perspective. So we're in the progression of security automation. So part of what I wanted to deliver here is the future of security automation. What is it? What does that mean for us? So SOAR is the legacy one that's been around for quite some time. Security automation then comes in. What's the difference between SOAR and security automation? So security automation really is actually extending outside of standard SOC use cases. So outside of alert triage and phishing and threat intel and those sorts of things. But now we're into the world of AI-enabled security automation. The enabled piece is a really important bit. We believe that the enablement of analysts and security engineers should be driven by AI. AI should not be making the decisions. AI should not be doing the responses. You should have a human involved in that process. But we can really use the AI element, it's been talked about quite a lot today, but we can really use that to make really quick decisions to help reduce those challenges, to reduce the risk for every alert that comes in, and to handle all of those alerts. Pretty much every organization does not handle all the alerts they get in a day. So how do you decide which ones? So we're using AI to help us do some of that. So back to that term that I was talking about, good enough. What is good enough? And it is a difficult one for everybody. But from our perspective, we believe that you should strive to be on an automation journey that is not, it's not a destination. It is actually a journey. So it's constant improvement. So you're going to start with a set of use cases, the very common ones that we talk about, but you want to be able to then expand that out and cover any use cases inside your business that help you to reduce risk. Now, for every business, that's going to be different. There's a whole range of different capabilities that you want to have. There's also a whole range of different tools that you currently have that have what we call micro-automation in them. So there's bits of automation in each of those tools, but they all don't talk to each other or they all don't automate with each other. So we believe in being the glue that sits in the middle of all of that. And then there's the different use cases. So outside of the SOC, when you start to get past alert triage and phishing and threat intelligence, you then get into some of the things like vulnerability management. It was talked about earlier. One of the key elements, one of the best takeaways, I think it was from the second presentation, one of the most important takeaways was to patch your infrastructure and do it all the time and do it quickly. And now that's a big challenge for everybody. But if you can automate a whole bunch of the manual pieces that go around that, things like understanding where those vulnerabilities are, creating tickets, monitoring tickets, all of that can be automated to give you the ability to patch and sort those vulnerabilities out much, much quicker. But you're then into a whole range of other ones. Security compliance, process compliance. There's a whole range of different use cases that you can think of. Now, you need a security automation platform, if you're going to invest in it, to be able to cope with all of these, not just do the SOC ones. So you need to determine when good enough is not good enough for you. So right now, we're bringing in a new area of SecOps. But actually, it's not coming, it is here now. And we call it the SecOps trifecta. So it's the use of low code. So low code is the ability to do things in an easy way. So you don't have to write code, you don't have to write Python, you can drag and drop. So it democratizes the ability for multiple people, rather than just security engineering, to automate processes. Having the automation platform that allows you to scale and do the various elements that you need to support this, and then have the AI that's sat in there, and just using standard open AI is not an option, because it's not trained on security, it's not going to be trained quickly enough to catch up with 0 days and the latest vulnerabilities, and also, where does your data go when you put it into that open AI? So you need to be looking at some elements on that. So you need to have security use cases beyond the SOC. You said you were going to give me my whole time. Okay, that's good. You need to be able to get those metrics out of it that we talked about earlier. And what we talk about is being a system of record, so to give you the scale to be able to cope with anything that you want to put into the system. Robust isolation if you need to do data segmentation across your different businesses and across different regions. And then finally, and it is finally, I've got 2 slides. Finally, how do you then decide what to do with automation? That automation journey that we've just talked about, how do you start on it? Or if you've already started, how do you restart? Or how do you get to your next point? Because it is a journey. So we've put together what we call the Armor Assessment program. So it's effectively a maturity model for automation, a 5-step model. People can baseline themselves against that, determine where they currently stand, what their goals are, how they want to get to it. And instead of just talking to us as a vendor about product, you can work with us on that journey, understand from the experts and the specialists in automation how you can leverage it, where you should prioritize, what to focus on next, what use cases should I be doing, and what system should I be working with. So those are all the key elements for us as part of our Armor framework. The next piece that's coming with this as well is the ability for us to then baseline you against your peers with that Armor assessment. So right now, it's prescriptive information. It's a service, as in a free service that helps you to understand where to go and what to do. But then that will then feed into the wider thing. How am I doing against my peers? Where am I going to get to? Look at that. Almost on time. So any information, please feel free to reach out to us. We are upstairs, and we will be around for the rest of the day.
Thank you, Peter. I'll allow one question.
One.
If anyone got a question?
No?
What's been your biggest lesson learned to date then, Peter?
The biggest lesson is to prepare well and make sure that you dig deeper on every interaction. So instead of taking one answer and going, okay, that's what you want, or that's what we need to do, or that's where we need to go, dig deeper. Because there's always more, there's always additional things that might take you down a different route, that might point you in a different place. So it's a bit of a mantra of mine is digging deeper.
Thank you.
Super. Thank you very much.
Thank you.